I guess why don't we start? What sparked your interest in Guccione?
A couple of things. I read his obituary, and every headline was "The porn lion in the winter, pornographer passes away," and I just was curious as there had to be more to him than that, and obviously there is, and there was. And I'd also, when I made The Last Mogul, I got invited to this Command performance screening at the Playboy Mansion, and I wasn't going to turn that down, but got to know Hefner over the last 8 years, and so I started to compare them. I mean, I just saw a completely different person in Guccione. Even the names of the magazines reflected different people. Playboy, the man out there on the town, and Penthouse, just sort of a higher state of being, which is what Guccione wanted.
Cool. Let's open it up. Questions, comments? Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Did you approach Hugh Hefner about doing
the question was, did I approach Hefner being in the film? Several times, being up there, being at the mansion. I did ask him, and he has never gone on record about Guccione, other than that Vanessa Williams piece, which you saw in the film. He wouldn't acknowledge him, and said that. I've never gone on record. I'm not going to begin now. He had his magazine, I had mine. That was it. Yeah.
Next. Just shoot your hand up. Anyone?
Let me ask you, Bob, let me ask you, I mean, how difficult for you, you saw the film a couple of weeks ago, and I left you in a puddle for an hour or so on that part.
Thanks for telling everybody.
How hard for you, A, to trust, and B, to see your dad in some footage you've never seen.
Right.
And some moments, I mean, even you as a 19-year-old sitting with your father getting advice, I mean,
that was my real accent then. Well, what was your question?
How hard for you to watch this film?
Oh, incredibly hard, incredibly hard. It's hard because it's both very beautiful, it's utterly accurate. It's very rare you can say that about something. It's fair, it's painful in parts. Look, viewing it again, I see I'm probably one of the most critical in some places, but he would appreciate that. But it's touching, and it's interesting to see a man who I loved, of course, for my entire 57 years of life, almost 58, as my girlfriend keeps reminding me. But to see him at parts in this film where he's 10, 15, 20 years younger than I am now, and to see that panoply, that entire panorama of him played before my eyes again, as I said in one of our interviews, to visit with him again for an hour and a half and know I won't see him again. Very, very powerful. But in general, besides my own propensity of deserting into a puddle every time I see it, I just want to say that it's a very, very brilliant movie. I mean, it's really good. It really is, isn't it? Yeah. And I know that my dad, if he isn't aware of it in the next plane of existence, would very much approve. And you captured a complex life. It was an imperfect life, but all of ours are anyway. Few of ours reach such heights and attempt to reach such heights.
Somebody said to me, it's such a tragic ending, and I never saw it
No,
that
not
way.
at all.
I mean, 79 years, certainly a great life, not a great ending per se, but of those 79 years, the vast majority, for him, being an artist and living like a Roman emperor, pretty good, had a pretty good life for a long time.
Yeah, no. I mean, it wasn't a pretty ending. And it's painful to revisit as the movie ends. I was sitting next to Jane, who's also a puddle, please. Thank you.
How are you, Jane?
Jane was and Jane was amazing.
I promised you I would not let poor Jane did interviews. Jane did interviews all day today. I would not let her see the film, and she did all these interviews and had to trust me.
But I would say that my father died peacefully, and I always say that dying is not a tragedy, not living is a tragedy. But he lived. So his life is not tragic now. Should you take a question?
Yeah. Right in the middle there, yeah.
Well, 18 years, that's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of differences were they? Were you very much alike, same kind of attitude?
Yes. The truthful answer is absolutely. And I think I was sort of molded by him, taught by him, conditioned by him, preconditioned by him, DNA. But one of the things I realized, and I am perhaps the luckiest of all of my siblings, is that I was able to grow up before he became famous, before he was distracted, before the family was distracted by fantastic wealth. I used to tease him. I left home before he made money. I said, "Oh, you waited for me to leave home? You know, and then you made money?" But I was lucky that I grew up with my own dreams, my own determination, and my own sloppy and often fortunate way. I found my own path in life. So I was incredibly blessed in many ways. But when we banged heads, we banged heads. And there's a point I make in the movie where I said I was never angry at him. What I was trying to say was that I was never angry at him for his business decision to throw Spin out. I actually accepted that, completely understood it. I wasn't giving him what he wanted. He was financing it. Therefore, he took away his financing. I took away my magazine.
Well, there's a rumor that part of the altercation over that magazine is that he wanted, and I don't know if this is true, we never talked about this, that he wanted Pia Zadora to be on the cover of Spin and was launching a singing career.
That's
she was
true.
the wife of Meshulam Rilklis, who ran the Riviera Hotel,
Right.
And he thought it'd be great for advertising.
It's actually true. It's actually true. This is one of the world's most boring rumors, but it's true. But it's true. And what happened was he came to me.
Pia Zadora is more boring. But
Yeah, you know, I had dinner with him, Rilklis, my father, and Pia, and he said to me, very worried. I was young, I was in my 20s. He's very worried. He said, seriously, says, "Don't make a move on Pia." I said, "No problem." And it wasn't. But anyway, a couple of years later, he said he wanted to put her on the cover of Spin, and I said, "No, absolutely not. No, it's wrong." And he accepted that. I mean, he didn't like it, but it wasn't part of the breakup. The breakup was that the company was losing a lot of money, and people were pointing fingers at everybody, and they said, "Spin's a startup, and you don't even know it," because we had a separate deal. And so he said, "Well, I have to own 100%. And I said, "Well, that's just not right." And you know, in the end, we both held to our positions.
In red there.
Bob, only one of your siblings took part in the film. And does that say something in what you think your other siblings or your mom would say about you?
Well, great question. Thank you for bringing my mother into it, too. She was very involved. Handouts was her idea. Not many people realize that. She came up with the idea. And before that, she'd come up with the idea of mail-order nudes. So tame, so tame, that they were just contact sheets that were reproduced and reprinted. You know, you can reprint. For those of you who remember photography, you could reprint contact sheets, and we put them in. I sometimes, a 9-year-old boy, put them in envelopes. You know. Slave labor. Now I think about it. Actually. I need therapy. I didn't realize it until now. But anyway, so I think my mum would have liked it. I think she would have agreed with the portrait. He was very honest in the clip where he says, we left. You know, she took us children away because she was afraid that he wasn't the most faithful of men. Like, he now tells the story, and all these years later, when they were married, and I think she thought he was going to start a magazine where he takes pictures of naked women every few days. This isn't a good thing for marriage, and you know, it wouldn't have been. So we separated. My siblings didn't want to participate, and it shows what a poor consulting editor I am. As you saw my credit up there, consulting editor. I tried to get them in. My brother Nicky did get in, but he was perhaps the least conflicted. I think my other siblings were just very conflicted, and hadn't quite properly dealt with their own relationship with him. And you know, it's a shame they're not there. But I think Nicky did a very good job of representing himself.
Well, I think your sister Tonina, I mean, who I spoke to dozens of times, was so close every time, but was just so unsure about what the film was going to be and what the legacy was going to be. And I mean, even looking at my other films, which I sent her, she had her own issues, a lot of closure on her.
And I'm not sure. This is no indictment of them. I'm not sure they would have added much. There wasn't great conflict. Yeah, no, I know it sounds terrible. Watch that get quoted in my siblings. No, you're dead to us.
You know, we are shooting this.
You never see your
That just made it into the bonus footage on the DVD.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there just wasn't that much conflict. I'm probably the only one who had real conflict with him, frankly. And that's a matter of public nature. We dealt with that. And, you know, when we reconciled, we never talked about that 18 years to that gentleman's question. We never ever mentioned it. One time he said over dinner, "All that lost time." And I said, "Well, we're here now." And that was it. So, you know, that was the only real conflict. He was, as you saw, a very kind of reclusive, very kind of simple person. You know, utterly charismatic, of course, and had a very public life. It was kind of a different life, and even a bit of a costume.
Why did you
Did anyone hear
What
that?
brought them back together?
Yeah, why did we reconcile? Well, it was a blessing, it really was. I mean, I tried many, many times and been rebuffed each time. He was more stubborn than anybody I've ever known in my life. I was not at all stubborn about it. I wanted to reconcile the day after we didn't, you know, we separated. In fact, the day that he threw his spin out of Penthouse, I called him that night, he wouldn't take the call. And I knew he wouldn't, but I knew I had to make that call. I wanted to show that I wasn't going to run from the relationship. He rebuffed it for many years, and then at one point, he just heard I was alone for Christmas. And called up. His girlfriend then, who became wife, April, called me, and I didn't believe it. I thought they were just trying to arrange for a meeting that my father wasn't in on. I said, no, if he wants me, he'll call. And she said, he can't. You know, the throat cancer has rendered him almost unable to talk. Certainly over the phone, he can't be heard. So eventually I decided, well, what I got to lose? Been rebuffed before. He turned me away again on Christmas Day. So what? I actually made another plan to have dinner with a friend. In expectation, I had to call my friend up and say, forget it. My friend Joe, I said, you're on your own. You know, I'm not coming. I'm staying. And we reconciled. And it was perfect. It was just the moment. The moment came, and we're both very happy for it. Question over there? Question behind?
Yeah, Daniel.
Can you tell
Oh,
me
yeah.
about the old film that clips that you showed in the documentary that was taken a long time ago? Where did you get them? I know it was a reference to credit to persons, I believe, or female.
Where are you, by the way, just so I can see?
He's right there.
Oh, I see. The old footage, I don't know if Paul Lynch is in the audience or not.
I'd like to say you did a fabulous job.
Yeah.
A fabulous job. And that is Bob. And he was one of the nicest, decentest guys. And the only clip you missed was when he said, and I insist my employees keep their hands off the girls. And when everybody thought he was a pornographer, according to him, nobody touched the girl. Bob Jr. was right. He was a very decent guy, and the only problem which you captured was it's very difficult for an artist to become a businessman.
Yes, yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Thank Paul, to
Thank you,
answer
Paul.
your question, thank you, Paul, he's here. Paul shot that footage for Bob as a film obviously many years ago in the 60s in London, and we got very lucky in getting that footage and meeting with Paul, and gorgeous footage. In fact, the funny thing is when he was driving around in that Jag, we're trying to figure out how to clear the music that's in that scene and realize it was on the radio, you know, in the Jag. But great stuff. Couldn't get better than that.
Or we can do one last question right there.
He hasn't,
Yeah.
but I'd stay tuned. I mean, that art is being collected and put together, and I would imagine that there most likely will be, a great show one day, as there should be. I mean, it's not what it's not what drove him. He painted for himself, but people should see the art. I mean, I've shown it to art experts who have looked through it. Yes, it's derivative of the great masters that inspired him, but it's not. I've said this many times. It's not celebrity art. It's not Keith Richards painting and saying this is a Keith Richards. I mean, there's some really good art. He got better over the years too.
Yeah, I'll just add, Kent, that he was a serious painter. Years before Penthouse, he painted, they couldn't make any money. And it wasn't because people didn't want his paintings. The best paintings, he didn't want to sell them. My mother, I remember Ridley, as a little boy, remember my mother arguing with him. You have to sell paintings. You're a painter, but you have to sell paintings. He said, I don't mind selling these. They want his good ones, He wanted, such was his artistic vanity, he wanted to keep the good ones, and thought people should be happy with the second tier. His great regret, and I'm speaking for him, but he certainly told me, was that he didn't paint all his life. He never knew if he would have been one of the greats, if he would have been one of the great impressionists of the 20th century. It's lovely to stand here now and say I think he would have. But I tell you what, I think he would have. I think he could have been known as one of the greats. He didn't.